We're back with Professor Ted Kluck for our Newswheel round of Jackson 24/7 College News Conference. Let's begin this round of questioning with Ashton Rich.
One more question on sexual assaults. Tennessee settled a lawsuit for $2.5 million brought by women who said they were sexually assaulted by athletes. They received cash payments, but what about the psychological and emotional damage these women have experienced? Who deals with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes down to how responsible do you hold an athletic department for things that happen under their watch? And, certainly, I don't think you can truly atone for something like that. It's disconcerting to me to see what an institution Tennessee football is in this state. And, it's a little odd in that you almost feel like that program could get away with whatever they wanted, And I think until we change that mindset and that culture, which probably would involve something drastic, like, maybe all intercollegiate sports should be non-scholarship. I see that as a sort of drastic measure that might save college sports.
Let's talk about the fans. Social media appears to have made behavior worse. If coaches don't win instantly, the fans are ready to fire them. If they are wealthy alumni, they put pressure on the school administrations to fire them. What does this say about us as a society?
I think it says we're impatient people who lack grace. I think, our attention span is shorter. Our fuses are shorter in terms of the way that we get angry, the way that we act when we are angry. I worry about that, and I worry about an environment where every thought that I have could be broadcast, and I certainly don't want that to happen. I don't want everything that's said in my living room during a game to be broadcast to the masses. So I think we need to work on developing a discipline of patience, and that would benefit coaches. I think it would benefit players and ultimately benefit fans.
Our next two questions will come from Ali.
And speaking of the fans, what about the fan bases today? Do you think that they're just out of control?
I hope not. I think sometimes fan bases do get out of control, and you see, rioting and other sorts of craziness. I think Boston has been down this road enough times that hopefully they know how to deal with winning, and that's a part of their culture. But my heart does go out to the people of Atlanta, and even people that we know who may have thrown things around their dorm rooms last night or eaten ice cream out of a carton.
Yeah, cried a little bit.
Cried a little bit, exactly.
So at the University of Minnesota, you had players threaten to refuse to play in their bowl game because 10 of their teammates were suspended because of sexual assaults. They backed down, but how much more of this kind of organized protest could be ahead for college athletes?
I think a lot, and I think it's one of the most interesting stories in college sports this year, honestly. Really the players, they're on one-year renewable contracts as college athletes, and they have very little bargaining power once they're on campus. But that sort of mass protest, that sort of, we're not going to play unless you listen to us, or we're not going to play unless you change your policy, that is a terrifying thing for administrators and for the NCAA to think of, because there are so many dollars at stake with TV and bowl games and all those sorts of things. So I think you're going to see more of it. Hopefully, again, grace will abound in those situations, and there can be open dialogue, and both sides can kind of be heard and get what they want. But I think it's a fascinating dynamic for sure.
And our next two questions will come from Seirra.
So let me ask you a simple question. Should we pay college athletes? Why or why not?
No, I don't think we should. I think if we do, we'll continue to see this slide into just the commercialization of the college experience. It's already a little bit gross sometimes, the way we call ourselves institutions of higher learning, and then we allow certain things to happen under our watch at universities in the realm of athletics. So I think if you begin to pay players, you just slide further on that continuum of it becoming crass, it becoming commercial. But let me be the first to say, as a coach and as an ex-athlete, I sympathize with the amount of work that these guys have to do. And I think there needs to be a balance there, where if we're not going to pay guys, I think we need to respect their time a little bit more. I think we need to allow them to have jobs. We need to do some things to tweak the system such that it's fair for these guys to really be student athletes.
So as you see it, what are the most serious problems that college athletes need to address, and why?
There are so many, it would be hard to pinpoint one. I think ultimately the most serious problem is sin. The most serious problem, honestly, is in my heart, and I feel it when I compete. I feel it when I coach. I feel it when I watch my kids compete. You know, I have issues as an athlete and as a fan that I need to continue dealing with. And I think it would probably behoove all of us to think about sports in that way. You know, to see sports more as a means to an end than an end in and of itself. I think sports are a way that we can grow. We can change in a positive way as people through sports. But so often we see the opposite. You know, so often we see the ugly things come out in a sports context.
All right, and I have a question for you. So we asked you about the most serious problems in college athletics today. So let's put it another way. What are the greatest threats to college sports today?
The greatest threats to college sports? That's a great question. You know, I think the greatest threat to college sports is further removing it from college. It seems like on every campus, athletics and academics are kind of siloed in two different buildings, literally sometimes. You know, athletes will eat together, they will study together, they'll do everything after hours together. And I would love to see an environment where athletes and regular students come together and both sides can kind of know and be known. I think the greatest threat is more sort of crass commercialization and professionalism among college athletes.
Okay. Well, that winds up our 3 rounds of questions. When we return, we give the last word to Professor Ted Kluck on the future of college and professional sports. We'll wind up this edition of Jackson 24/7 College News Conference right after these messages.
Steve Beverly's TV classics can cure what ails you.
I watched and it got rid of my hemorrhoids.
Staying awake at night? Just watch TV classics.
My daughter watched and she went right to sleep.
Do not watch Steve Beverly's TV classics if fights upset your stomach. Do not watch if high drama leads to emotional distress. And do not turn on TV6 Saturday or Sunday at 7 if hillbillies give you a gallbladder attack.
Ask your doctor if Steve Beverly's Classics is right for you.